8 weeks. That's what's left between this moment and the start line of the Cocodona 250. I'm Paul Johnson. This is The Work, Week 7. The Cocodona 250 is an ultramarathon that starts in Phoenix and finishes in Flagstaff, Arizona. 250 miles of desert, mountain, and everything in between. The clock starts Monday, May 4th at 5 a.m. Runners have 125 hours to get to the finish line. Miss a cutoff at any aid station along the way, and your race is over. The inaugural race was run in 2021. This year is number 6. It will be a great race. Here's the weekly snapshot. Let's look at the numbers. Week 7 was the third week of Phase 2, base building, with a continued focus on technical descent work. Distance, 118.52 kilometers. The goal was 124. I was short by 5.5 kilometers. Vertical, I climbed 2,462 meters. The goal was 1,950. I beat that by 512 meters. So behind on distance, ahead on vert. I'll take that every time at this stage of training. Total training, 19 hours and 53 minutes. The body feels strong. I'm sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night and getting an early afternoon nap most days. The indicators are good. Here are the day-by-day highlights. Monday, Lake Pleasant Regional Park, Hoka Mach 6. 20 kilometers out and back with 416 meters of climbing. Clean start to the week. That afternoon, 2 hours of pickleball. And that evening, I registered for the second edition of the Thai 500. Registration opened and I was the first in. The Thai 500 is a 500-kilometer ultramarathon held in northern Thailand, Mae Hong Son Province. I ran the first edition this past January. Round 2 is on the calendar. Tuesday, Maricopa Trail, Hoka Mach again, 16.3 kilometers, essentially flat, 29 meters of elevation, a recovery-style run to keep the legs moving. Followed it up with 2 hours of pickleball in a round robin at Trilogy. Wednesday, this was the day that didn't happen. I had an easy 11-kilometer run on the schedule. 2 scheduling conflicts took it off the board. I did play 2 hours of competitive pickleball in the Arizona Pickleball Players League. Not the same, but it counts for something. Thursday, big day. White Tank Mountain Regional Park, Hoka Tecton X, 36.4 kilometers with 1,314 meters of vertical. This was the anchor of the week. I started at 65 degrees and climbed Twin Peaks as the temperature rose. The forecast called for a high in the mid-80s. I'd be up in the mountains during the hottest part of the day, so this was also heat training, intentional. I wore a USWE, that's USWE, USWE running vest, and carried 3.5 liters of water. That's almost 8 pounds of water alone, plus calories, white rice, and walking tamales, and electrolyte capsules. At kilometer 25.8, my Coros Vertex watch died. I hadn't charged it sufficiently before the start. Classic. About a kilometer later, I caught the problem, pulled out my phone, and launched Strava. It picked up the rest of the run. Always charge the watch. Friday, back to Lake Pleasant. Norda 001 shoes, 24.25 kilometers with 570 meters of elevation. The day after, follow-on to Thursday's big effort. This is where the training adaptation happens, running on tired legs. Saturday, streets of Phoenix to Iron Sharpens Iron, the ISI Men's Ministry. A good way to end the week. Let's talk about gear of the week. I've been using trekking poles for years. My approach has changed over time. Early on, I used them on both the ascent and the descent. These days, I reserve them almost exclusively for the descent, technical trail where balance and joint protection matter most. On the way up, I prefer clean posture and an unencumbered stride. My poles are Leki, L-E-K-I, Leki, a German brand. I'm not sponsored, no affiliation. I use them because they're lightweight, reliable, and easy to deploy. A word of warning, poles fail. At the Divide 200, a pole snapped mid-race, gone. On another occasion, the spring-loaded button inside the shaft failed to extend, which means the section won't lock. That failure is usually contamination or spring binding. When it happens at mile 180, it matters. There's a phrase athletes use, listen to your body. 30-plus years of endurance running has taught me what sports medicine confirms. Learn to distinguish a niggle from an injury and respond proportionally. Friday, I felt a periodic sharp and tender sensation along the outer lower edge of my right foot. Lateral aspect, near the fifth metatarsal, or the peroneal tendon pathway. At my mileage, with 200-plus mile events in my history, this area takes a beating. My instinct was to back off and let it settle. Saturday, I had a brief knee flare during pickleball. Short-lived, didn't recur. I gave it room to self-correct. With Cocodona 8 weeks out, keeping that distinction sharp, niggle versus injury, is worth the extra attention right now. Fatigue accumulates in this phase. Niggles get louder. The temptation to push through is highest precisely when it's most dangerous. I feel grateful. This body keeps bouncing back. I spent time this week reviewing the course changes for 2026. I've run this race every year since the inaugural in 2021, and every year the course has changed. In 2022, fire in the Bradshaw Mountains forced a reroute. Other years, the National Forest Service required adjustments for environmental protection. The race directors don't control these things. They just adapt, and they do it well. This week, I also finalized my pacer plan. Let me walk you through it. Pacers are permitted starting at mile 76, the Whiskey Row aid station in Prescott. From there, a runner can have a pacer continuously through mile 176, Schnebley Hill aid station. Then there's a pacer-free stretch from Schnebley Hill to mile 190 at Munns Park, and again from Wildcat Hill at mile 234 to the finish in Flagstaff. Both gaps exist to protect the Mexican spotted owl, an endangered species that mates in that area during May. My team, Troy Ide, Christopher Johnson, Jeffrey Johnson, Mark Vega. Troy paces from Whiskey Row to Mingus Mountain, then again from Jerome to Dead Horse. Christopher runs from Mingus Mountain to Jerome, then picks me up again from Sedona to Schnebley Hill. Jeffrey takes Dead Horse to Sedona, and Mark carries me from Munns Park to Wildcat Hill. Christopher and Jeffrey are seasoned Cocodona veterans. Troy and Mark are new to this race, but both are experienced runners. I trust all four of them. One new wrinkle this year, from Wildcat Hill at mile 234, I'll climb and descend Mount Eldon alone. No pacer allowed, all the way to the finish line. At that point in a 250-mile race, with everything accumulated on the legs and feet, Eldon is no joke. The ascent is hard. The descent is technical and steep. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Thanks for being here. If you want to follow along on Strava, Instagram, or Facebook, find me as Paul James Johnson. Subscribe to the channel. Come back next week. The work continues.